Thank you very much. Hello, and thank you for hearing me. My name is Wayne Goodlin, and I am here representing my wife, Ms. Diane Barrett. Diane thought this hearing to be quite important and very much wanted to be here in person to make a statement. But for previously scheduled grandma duty with 2 preschoolers up in Toronto, Canada, she would be here herself. I felt honored when Diane asked me to offer her statement for her. She's comfortable in knowing I believe deeply in what she has to say. I'll begin. Diane Behrens, Barrington, Rhode Island. To the House Committee on Judiciary. In December 1968, when I was a 19-year-old sophomore at the University of Texas, I found out that I was 6 weeks pregnant. My boyfriend and I were in love. It was the first sexual relationship for either of us. We had been faithfully using the only birth control available to us, condoms. But this time we came up short. Maintaining the pregnancy was not an option. We were both serious students on career paths. Enlisting the assistance of our parents was not an option. So we proceeded on our own. Through the local grapevine, we learned that with a lot more money than we had, we could fly to New York City, where licensed physicians were performing abortions illegally. Alternatively, we could go the back alley route, which involved an undergraduate biology major performing the abortion in his dorm room. Way too risky. But after days of digging around, we unearthed another option. A licensed physician with a family clinic in the border town of Piedras Negras, Mexico, performed illegal abortions for $165. Word had it that his medical training was in the U.S., but that he had to return to Mexico to care for his mother when his father died prematurely. Piedras Negras is a gritty town just over the border from Eagle Pass, Texas. It's just under 250 miles southwest of Austin. My boyfriend had a car. The drive would take about 5 hours. The following morning we set out. Our informants told us that we should arrive at the clinic toward the end of the afternoon, where we would speak in code to the receptionist and then wait till the doctor had seen all his scheduled patients. The doctor could not be informed that we were coming. We were told that under no condition should we ask for directions to the clinic once we were in the town, because spies for quack abortion providers were abundant. A young Anglo couple asking for directions in broken Spanish would be easy pickings for a back alley provider. Through a sea of little kids trying to sell us chiclets, we found the office and entered. We did as we had been told. Once all the scheduled patients had left, we were ushered into the doctor's examining room. He was professional and polite, as was his female assistant. His English was impeccable. He performed an exam to make sure I was pregnant, told us that he would administer sodium pentothal in my arm and then perform a D&C, and then asked my boyfriend to leave. All I remember after that was an oxygen mask being placed over my face and a needle being injected into my left arm. An hour or so after that, I regained consciousness. My boyfriend was by my side. I lay there for about half an hour. The doctor handed me antibiotics and told me I would bleed a little, but then that would be it. After my boyfriend paid him, my boyfriend drove the car around to the back of the clinic to the doctor's instructions. The authorities were not to be tipped off. When I left the clinic, it was dark, and I was scared and sore. but I wasn't pregnant anymore. We drove back to Austin that night. We were relieved. We could resume our lives. 2 days passed. I started to bleed profusely. I bled off and on for 5 days, but I didn't dare seek medical assistance. What I had done was a crime. I was terrified, but the bleeding did stop finally. I did resume my life. I was one of the lucky ones. I had a partner for the ordeal, and not only did I not die, I suffered no long-term physical damage. I graduated from college. I married. After a few years, I went to graduate school, where I received a PhD in philosophy. I was a philosophy professor for the better part of 30 years. Along the way, I became the mother of a daughter. She made me proud. She is an award-winning neuroscientist, and she gave me 2 precious grandchildren. Because of the trajectory of my life, I was sufficiently privileged to be able to retire at a relatively young age and throw myself into world travel, quality time with my family, and civic engagement in causes about which I am passionate. Had I not had that abortion, the trajectory would have been radically different. I shudder to think where I would be. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, women will still receive abortions. The risk will just be dramatically higher. That is why I urge state legislators in Rhode Island to vote for the Reproductive Health Care Act of 2017, a bill introduced in both houses of the Rhode Island legislature. That way, regardless of what happens at the federal level, women in Rhode Island will still be able to receive abortions prior to fetal viability. This bill does not allow for late-term abortion. It does not prevent parental consent for minors seeking an abortion. It does not change the Rhode Island Department of Health authority to oversee licensing of healthcare facilities and providers. What it does do is safeguard the fundamental idea that medical decisions are between a patient, her family, and her medical provider. By the way, a January 2017 Pew Research poll revealed that Rhode Island residents support maintaining safe and legal abortion by a 2-to-1 margin. So why should this be an issue? Rhode Island legislators are there to represent their constituents, and that means us. I do not ask Rhode Island legislators to choose abortion for themselves or to recommend it to their families and loved ones. I simply ask them to trust women, in consultation with their families and doctors, to make responsible choices for their reproductive futures. I ask for this basic demonstration of respect. Sincerely yours, Diane Lorenz. Thank you.